David Fincher is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, and I think you agree with me, don't you, Poi?
Actually, Xander, he's the best filmmaker of all time.
You all know I love a movie that keeps you guessing, and Fincher does just that. All of his movies keep you on your toes with twists and turns, and he pays such close attention to detail that during the filming of Gone Girl, Ben Affleck slightly changed the camera's settings and made a bet that Fincher wouldn't notice. And he did, immediately, causing Ben Affleck to lose a bet. Today, we're going to be ranking all 12 of David Fincher's films, except for Alien 3, because if I'm being honest, I don't want to talk about it, and I don't think anyone really wants to hear about it. Keep in mind that this list is my opinion, but I would love to hear where all these films come out on your ranking down below. But anyways, let's jump right in.
Also, I don't think Xander explained this, but the movies are going to be in order of his ranking, and then I'm going to be covering 3 of them. So I'm going to be talking pretty highly of the ones that I'm covering. The ranking is his. It's like from worst to best in his opinion, and then I'm just covering the ones that I wanted to cover. So spoiler alert, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo would be at the top of my list, but let's just say it's not at the top of his. Anyways, let's move on. Where the fuck can I start with Mindhunter? I'm gonna get this out of the way. Out of every single piece of art ever made, album, song, TV show, movie, anything that can be seen as a piece of art, this is my favorite. Mindhunter, in my opinion, is the best piece of art ever made. First, I have to talk about the characters. I saw Karsten Rundquist say in his video about David Lynch, who's easily one of my favorite filmmakers ever, someone who can turn a single line into a full-body feeling, that Laura Palmer is Lynch's best character. And yeah, I totally get that. She's this haunting, beautiful core that everything else bends around, and the deeper you go into her, the more real and broken and mythic she becomes. But if Laura from Twin Peaks is Lynch's best, then Holden Ford is Fincher's. No question. He's not a cool one-liner detective. He's not Sherlock. He's not some edgy mastermind. He's something way rarer. He's actually smart, but in a way that feels real. He fumbles over words. He overshares. He gets too excited and doesn't realize when the room's gone cold. And somehow that makes him hypnotic. He's unbelievably good at what he does, but not in a TV show way. In a, this guy was born for this and is probably ruining him way. There's this scene in season 2 where he's locked in, headphones on, listening to an interview tape like he's on another fucking planet. And Bill turns to Wendy and says, "How do I tap into that?" And that line just nails it. Holden's got this thing, this gift, this cursed talent for getting inside the minds of serial killers in a way that no one else can. He hears things they miss. He wants to hear them. He mirrors the darkness until it speaks back. And yeah, it makes him brilliant, but at what cost? He starts having panic attacks. His relationships fall apart. People don't know how to be around him. He becomes alienated without even noticing it's happening because he's too locked into the mission. The question is, how much of that is a side effect and how much is the point? Does he even want to connect with other people anymore? Or is this the only thing that makes him feel anything? That's what makes Holden Ford probably the best character I've ever seen on TV. And the rest of the cast is just as layered as well. Bill Tench is that rare kind of character who feels like a real person from the first second he's on screen. He's older, more grounded, less caught up in the ideas of it all. He's seen what murder does to people and he doesn't need to theorize it to understand it. He's tired in the way that only real cops get tired. But you can tell he cares deeply even if he'd never say it out loud. His home life storyline is genuinely tragic. And it says everything about how hard it is to hold on to yourself when your job is staring into the worst of humanity every day. And Wendy Carr is just brilliant. The smartest person in the room most every time, forced to constantly prove herself over and over to men who don't even realize they're ignoring her. She doesn't just bring the academic legitimacy to the team, she is the method. She's the only one who really understands what they're building while the others are still figuring it out piece by piece. And her own personal arcs are so fucking good too, bro. Every character in this show is lonely in a different way, and that's what I love. And through it all, there's the vibe. That's what makes Mindhunter so endlessly rewatchable. I swear, this show I can put on literally any mood, anytime, and love it. It's not just the plot or the characters, it's the atmosphere. That slow, beige, smoky 70s to 80s transition where everything feels muted or off-kilter, like the whole world is quietly holding its breath. Fincher doesn't just recreate this era, he pulls you inside of it. You can feel the hum of the old fluorescent lights and smell the stale coffee and cigarette smoke. You can see the walls closing in during the scenes that barely move, but still hold more tension than anything else on TV. The offices, the interview rooms, the cars, the tape recorders, it all feels so lived in, but also like something's always slightly wrong. It's not just nostalgia for that decade, it's nostalgia for a whole mood, a time when the world was less loud but more dangerous. Fincher captures this perfectly, the pacing, the framing, the way he lets scenes breathe without ever wasting time. Every moment matters, every pause is telling you something, and the way it's shot is so precise it's like surgical. It's like what Xander said in the beginning, like about that Ben Affleck thing. It's insane. And then you get to the killers. Holy shit, the killers. Not the killer. I'll get to that later, guys. The casting in this show is unreal. Ed Kemper is genuinely terrifying, but not in the way that most horror tries to be. He's polite, he's articulate, he's warm. He's the kind of guy you could sit next to at a bus stop and never suspect a thing, and that's what makes it work. These interviews aren't dramatized or over the top. They're slow, methodical. The camera just sits there and watches. It lets them talk. And the scariest part is how much they want to talk. They love the sound of their own voice. They love being studied. They want you to understand them because if you understand them, then maybe they're not monsters. But the show never gives you the satisfaction of that. It lets you get close, comfortably close, but then it always pulls the curtain back just enough to remind you that there's nothing poetic under there. These aren't supervillains, they're just broken men who did things so evil it makes your skin crawl, and the show refuses to let you forget that. They don't glamorize these people. There's no horror movie mystique. Okay, but there's one part about this show that I don't like, guys, which I know is saying a lot because I said that this is the best piece of art ever made, but the most infuriating part is that we're never getting more. That's it. 2 seasons, no season 3, no BTK payoff, no closure, no goodbye, just those little teases, those cold-ass scenes of him setting things up like it's about to take off and then nothing. The show just ends, not because the story was over and not because the characters hit some natural stopping point, but because Netflix just didn't want to keep paying for perfection, and I hate it. I genuinely hate this shit, bro, because this show was not done. There was so much more to explore. They were just getting started. Season 2 literally ends with Holden, Bill, and Wendy all in different emotional places than when they started, and none of it gets resolved. BTK is right there. The pieces are in place, and we just don't ever get to watch it come to fruition. It's actually disrespectful how good this show is with no conclusion. It's like someone handcrafted the best meal you've ever had in your life, brought it out to you one plate at a time, and then just left in the middle of serving the entree. You're sitting there stunned, still chewing, like, wait, what do you mean that's it? What do you mean they're not finishing it? It deserved more. It earned more. Every frame, every fucking performance, every scene built up in this show, suffocating tension like it was working towards something huge, and then it just cuts off. This movie is like if you're like getting like really fucking good head, and then she just, or he, because I don't know who, I mean, whatever you're into, the person giving you head, either way, just like stops right before, like, but it's still like, but the head was so good that you don't care that much because it was still worth it to get the enjoyment you had, but there's like, but it just stops, you know what I mean? And maybe this fits the theme, like maybe because real life is unresolved, but I don't care, it still pisses me off, because nothing else on TV even comes close to what Mindhunter was doing, and now we're just supposed to move on like it didn't just become like the best piece of art ever made. And I'm never gonna stop being bitter about it, I swear to God.
The title of this film is pretty self-explanatory to what it is. It's about recently divorced Meg Altman and her daughter Sarah avoiding 3 people invading their home. And Meg and Sarah hide in the panic room, however that's where Burnham, Raoul, and Junior want to be. I really don't have much to say about this film. I didn't personally like it very much, but it was by no means bad, just not really my cup of tea. The visuals were nice, the acting wasn't bad either, I just wasn't the biggest fan of the concept of the movie. 6 out of 10. Oh, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Now, while this movie is low down on the list, it doesn't mean I think it's bad. It's good, it's just that comparatively it's overshadowed by Fincher's other work. I feel like a lot of his creativity was limited due to the production of the film and not being rated R. The movie follows the life of Benjamin Button, played by Brad Pitt, and he ages backwards from the normal human, meaning he was born old and slowly gets younger as time goes on. I loved a lot of the cinematic shots of this movie, it really did look amazing. The movie also sent an amazing message in my opinion, and it's that no matter what, it's never too late to be who you want to be. It was a sad ending to the movie, but regardless of that, it still felt hopeful and whimsical. If I had to compare what this movie is like to any other film, it would be Forrest Gump, which granted, I don't think it's as good as Forrest Gump, but it's close. Overall, not a bad movie by any means, and it's worth a watch if you need some inspiration. 7.5 out of 10.
The Killer is fine. It's a solid 8 out of 10. I liked it. It looks incredible, the pacing is really good, the mood is exactly what you'd expect from Fincher, and Fassbender is locked the fuck in. But let's be real. For Fincher, it's kind of basic. It doesn't have that haunting quality, that existential rot under the surface that his best work always has. It's slick, but not cold in a way that makes you feel something. It's about a killer, but it's not really about anything. It's just good. And from anyone else, that'd be enough, but when it's Fincher, I'm expecting a film that cracks your chest open, and this didn't. I didn't leave it rattled, I didn't spend the next day thinking about the psychology of it, or the way a single frame hit me like a punch in the gut. It's a really well-made movie, but it doesn't bleed. And for me, the best Fincher stuff always bleeds. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a masterpiece. It's the one. It's my favorite Fincher film, no debate. The only thing that tops it is Mindhunter, and that's probably just because it has more time to stretch out and sink deeper. This movie is devastating. It's so dark, but not in a fake, edgy, over-stylized way. It's real dark. The kind of dark that sits in your stomach for hours after it ends, days. The trauma in this film, and there's a lot of disturbing, devastating trauma, doesn't feel like a plot device. It's not theatrical or manipulative, it feels dirty. It feels like something that shouldn't even be shown on screen, but not in a cheap shock value way. Instead, in a, this is what people actually go through and we're not gonna look away from it kind of way. And I love that. I love films that are hard to sit through. I love when something feels so honest and raw it turns beautiful just by refusing to be anything else. My favorite film of all time is Requiem for a Dream, and this gives me that same kind of ache in my chest. That mix of horror and empathy and sadness and beauty that makes you feel like you're watching something important. And then of course this movie also has amazing detective work in my opinion. And on top of all that, it's still Fincher, so the atmosphere is flawless. It's cold, sharp, surgical. The snow, the lighting, the color, the score, it's all frozen in this perfect tone that somehow makes every second more tense, more tragic, more intimate. Rooney Mara is unbelievable. Lisbeth isn't just a character, she's a person. And you feel like, oh man, like every inch of her pain and power and control and loss like it's happening to someone that you know. It's not just a thriller, it's not just a mystery, it's one of the most human, tragic, disturbing stories I've ever seen put on screen. And it never flinches, it just stares straight into the ugliest things people do to each other and somehow pulls something beautiful out of it. And that's why I'll never shut the fuck up about this movie. It's a 10 out of 10, it's a fucking miracle.
Mank is a biopic following Herman J. Mank, an incredibly sharp but also alcoholic director in the 30s as he's producing the movie Citizen Kane. I really love the older aesthetic and black and white filter of this film, and in a weird way it kind of reminds me of the Fallout video games. It opens a window for us into the past and shows us problems that directors faced during that time. This movie shows us a man who is motivated and battling with inner conflictions at the same time. As you would expect, this movie isn't action-packed and is more of a slow burn film, and I felt myself getting a little bored at times, but regardless, it's still good. I just have a short attention span. Even if you don't have interest in the history of film or history in general, I would still recommend watching this movie. I personally enjoyed it, and I think my other film connoisseurs will as well. 8.5 out of 10. What happens when you have a retiring detective and a newly transferred Brad Pitt played character? You get a dark and gritty movie about a serial killer claiming victims that he believes represents each of the 7 deadly sins. This movie really gives off a perfect Dusky vibe, and I'm really entertained by the concept of a killer in a movie killing based off the 7 deadly sins. I think that's really interesting. But I honestly don't really know what else to say about this movie without giving it away, but I will say the third act of this movie is incredible. This is one of those movies where the ending leaves you satisfied, and I can honestly say that is how most of Fincher's films are. He really knows how to give the audience a finale. I will say, however, to me personally, I kind of struggled with the pacing of the film for some reason, but that doesn't take away the fact that I love this movie. 9 out of 10. This movie is insane, and I mean absolutely insane. The movie follows banker Nicholas Van Orton, played by Michael Douglas. He's a lonely guy that mostly focuses on his work and kind of a Scrooge vibe. His brother Conrad invites him to eat for his birthday and gives him a mysterious gift. It's a game that's personalized for the giftee that the participant experiences in real day-to-day life. And as the game goes on, it becomes increasingly more serious and the stakes raise as the game progresses. Nicholas attempts to run from the company producing the game, feeling like he can't trust anyone. And I'm going to be be honest, this movie is pretty much Michael Douglas losing his absolute mind for 2 hours and 9 minutes. The way I would describe this movie is a zigzag line. It's all over the place, in a good way, and you would never guess the way the movie ends. And as a matter of fact, the ending of this movie is one of my favorite endings out of any movie. It's absolutely incredible. However, I do feel like it's kind of slow paced, and I did feel myself just slightly bored at some points, but regardless, it's still a great movie, and it earned its place this high up on my list. 9 out of 10. The Social Network is about the upcoming of one of the youngest billionaires of all time, Mark Zuckerberg, and his invention of Facebook with the co-foundership of his best friend Eduardo Saverin. The movie shows his rise to success and the legal problems following it, and that's all I can say without spoiling. In all honesty, the movie makes you not like Mark Zuckerberg at all, and he is villainized, and it's funny because when I began the film, I was curious if he approved of this movie because of that. But anyway, the movie was really, really good. It was clear that Fincher directed just because of the style, but it's interesting that he made a movie like this, as it's one of the 3 movies based on true events that he produced, including Zodiac and Mank. I really, really loved the acting in this movie, and not only from Jesse Eisenberg, but Andrew Garfield too. He knocked it out of the park with that one scene, and when you watch it, you'll know the exact scene I'm talking about. But overall, I think this film was amazing. 10 out of 10. Zodiac is set in the 60s, 70s in San Francisco, where an investigator, a reporter, and a cartoonist are all attempting to solve the case of a serial killer called Zodiac, which is based off the real-life Zodiac killer. Zodiac throughout the movie sends encrypted messages to the authorities and taunts them as he takes more victims. I loved this movie, everything about it. I have no complaints. It captures the embodiment of obsession, and the most obsessed out of any of the other characters is the cartoonist, Robert Graysmith, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. I kept asking myself throughout the movie, why does he care so much about this case? I mean, it's been 15 whole years. Then I realized the answer to that question is simple. He just does. The same way we do. In my opinion, this is genuinely the best crime/detective work movie of all time. The third act of this movie is my favorite part. It's so tense, and as always, it leaves us wondering what just happened. It's a fairly lengthy movie, coming in at a little more than 2.5 hours, but you don't even realize it's that long, because before you know it, the movie's over. The cast for this movie was also phenomenal. RDJ, Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, and all 3 of them had an awesome dynamic and worked really well together. My favorite though was Robert Downey Jr.'s character Paul Avery. I don't know, just something about his character added relief to all the tension while watching. I love this movie. I really don't have any complaints. 10 out of 10. Gone Girl follows Nick and Amy Dunn, a seemingly perfect couple, but on their 5th anniversary when Amy mysteriously goes missing, Nick becomes the prime suspect. Under the public and police pressure for answers, it becomes obvious that they are not as perfect as they seemed, and honestly, that's all I can say without spoiling it. You just have to watch it for yourself. Ben Affleck portrayed a certain suspiciousness that was perfect for the Nick Dunn character, and Rosamund Pike did incredible as well. I can't go into detail on that in this video, but I made a whole video on her character, so go check that out if you want to hear more. The movie is so good that I myself, while watching, had no clue where it was going, and I was right. I absolutely had no clue and couldn't guess it. And at the halfway point of the movie, I thought it was over till I clicked pause and realized I was only halfway through. That's how crazy this movie was, and it's worth every second. While watching, you will have no clue what's going to happen next. But if you do guess what happens, hats off to you, because I didn't see it coming. Another 10 out of 10. Where do I even start? Fight Club is by far my favorite movie of all time, and that's why it landed itself #1 on my ranking. The film follows an average guy that lives a mundane life and struggles with being able to sleep due to insomnia. He goes to different support groups so he can cry, so he can sleep, and on a business trip flight, he meets an interesting single-serving soap salesman named Tyler Durden, who he ends up living with after his apartment is mysteriously blown up. The 2 of them start a fighting club in the bottom of a bar with a series of rules, the first of which being you don't talk about Fight Club. So I guess I'm breaking the first rule right now. In the film, the club progresses into so much more. The movie has a plot twist that can kind of be guessed, but nonetheless, it still gets you no matter how much you were expecting it. There's a lot of attention to detail, and if you look away for even a second while watching, you can miss minor things that were added in. It's so much more than meets the eye. To tell you without telling you, it's about letting go of what you cannot control, and taking control of the things that are in your hands. It's about eliminating escape routes that won't work, and becoming your own escape route, even if in the movie it's done negatively. I love this movie so much, and if you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton were a perfect match in this movie, and I feel like they just worked with each other so well. Absolute 10 out of 10. Well guys, that's our ranking of all of David Fincher's films. Like I said earlier, I would love to hear where all these movies came out on your ranking in the comments, or perhaps you could tell me on my Discord. The link is in the description. I really enjoy making these videos for you guys, so make sure to like and subscribe to see more. Love y'all. Peace.